Hello and welcome to PolyInnovator. So today I am recording this Poly content episode actually a little bit late. This particular post got postponed about a week. Technically all the posts got postponed by a couple of years, but we're not going to talk about that today. This episode is about what does it mean to be a poly-innovator. And today I'm recording in vertical format as well as horizontal. So now I have the vertical and horizontal, and hopefully it's short enough so I can post it on like Instagram or something like that. So if you haven't seen me before much on Instagram, here is one of my main series that I do. These episodes can be basically any topic. I just really care about the format. And so what a poly content episode entails is that there's a blog post, a video, and a podcast version of the episode. Now, the blog post is created separately from the video and podcast, so they actually have a bit of differences to themselves. And so I always encourage you, after watching this, go check out the blog post as well, because it can actually give you a different point of view than I might not share in the video, and vice versa as well. In the blog post, I link to the video and the podcast, and so that way you can actually have access to all of it if you just go to the post. And in this episode, I am hoping that the recording process goes well, because this new vertical plugin has had some issues, but thank you Harris Heller and Aitum for making it. I'm just shouting them out because I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and roll the intro. Alright, welcome back. So PolyInnovator was something that I created in order to be myself, to express myself and where I want to be in life. So something I asked in the blog post, it's like when deciding who you are going to be in this world, think to yourself, what is it that I want to be remembered for? And one example I like to think about with this is Leonardo da Vinci, my hero, many people's hero actually. But he is known for being a painter, and that was literally one of his least capable skills. Ironically, he's an amazing painter. I'm not discrediting that, but compared to some of the other stuff that he was doing, he was creating the first smart city design. He was sculpting. He was a massively amazing sculptor as well. He was creating war machines and the underwater diving suits. He even made one of the first tanks and helicopters. He made way more than his paintings, and yet everyone always knows him as the painter. And it's really crazy to me how just as much as his diversity of skills was so prolific, that people in history itself only really remembers him as the painter. And as a prime example of the concept of that, people are only going to remember you for one thing. And I am experiencing that right now in my life myself, where as I work at the Arc in my city, which is like the Y, it's like the city recreation center, I have been known as the pool guy. I've been known as Aquaman. I've been known as the guy who's always in the pool, teaching water aerobics, swim lessons, lifeguarding, and just doing all kinds of different roles in the pool. And so at the tail end of 2021, I quit the pool and gave them 3 months notice and transitioned out of there. And as much as I really wanted to stay, I was getting burned out and I needed to move on. I was there in the pool for a decade, and it was time for me to do new stuff. Ironically, I didn't leave the Arc. I stayed as a personal trainer, and now I'm a supervisor, lead attendant. And the thing is, people are surprised to see me there, despite the fact I never left. But that's because in their view, in their mind view of me, I was the pool guy. I was known as just the pool. So even though I worked outside of the pool at the Arc, even when I was in the pool itself, they only know me as the guy who's teaching swimming or the guy teaching water aerobics. And I think that at the end of my life, that might be what I'm known for, which is why I'm working on that How to Swim book. And that's the whole point of this post and this video today, is to talk about, what does it mean to be a poly-innovator, and what do I want to be known for in my life? And poly-innovator is that thing that I want to be known for. And the reason why that is, think about it like this. If Da Vinci had his own personal brand, and he was able to market himself the way that he wants to be known for, he would have been able to express those other aspects of his life much more publicly. Like his notes and his notebooks could have progressed multiple different science fields, from ocular science to laser physics and beyond, anatomy and physiology as well, even the heart physiology. And had those been published, he would have been very, very well received in multiple fields and remembered for way more than just painting. And that's all a marketing issue. His books were never published until 500 years later, when they were finally released to the public. And by then, we already rediscovered those things. But we would have been far ahead had we had that system already made back in the Renaissance, Italian Renaissance. And so That's why I wanted to create PolyInnovator, to be the foundation of all the different areas that I'm going to go into in life. I was already going to go into those areas. I already decided that as a person. Just from a young age, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, a businessman. Eventually, I discovered gaming, and I knew I was a gamer at heart. And beyond that, as a creator, I loved writing. I loved being able to create stories, and then eventually became a blogger, and eventually a video creator and podcaster. And these are just self-expressions through the mediums of content. And being able to create these Poly content episodes is just another form of that. I just decided to combine them together. Now, it's all about taking control of your own path. And while we can't necessarily take control of our lives, there's always things we are out of our control. I mean, take the Taoist view, for example, like you really can't control anything, just go with the flow. And it's an oversimplified concept, but we have to let go of this fundamental illusion of control. So people are only going to remember me as the swimmer. People are going to only remember me as the content creator. That's okay. That's what they remember me as long as they remember me, that's what really matters. And because as a human being, we are outnumbered for all different people around the world. Every skill has somebody that is remembered for that skill. You may not be that person. You may be known as that person who does that skill, but you won't necessarily be remembered for that skill if someone's looking into it per se. It's just one of those things where people don't remember Da Vinci as the guy who discovered anatomy and like discovered the different parts of the eye, that kind of thing. And the thing is, that's okay, but you just want to try to take control over what people can remember you for and try to minimize the outlying factors. So there's going to be certain things that people might remember you for that you don't want them to remember you for, and other things that are good too. It's just a matter of marketing and a semblance of control. This whole idea of a polymath of innovation is the key that I'm trying to convey. PolyInnovator, polymath of innovation. I want to innovate multiple fields throughout my life. I want to be known as the innovator, the guy who came up with new ideas and new ways of approaching things. So I came up with a new way of approaching self-education online through the modular degree. I came up with a new way of doing interviews. And like when I do my POLYCAST interviews, I do them in a unique way. I try to structure them very well, despite the fact they are very unstructured when I'm actually recording. But by the end of it, the way I prepare my guest, and also throughout the episode, without the guest even knowing per se, I even try to cater the conversation into certain directions. By doing those things, I have a certain flow to the conversation of my show, and I feel like that is unique to my show. It's a unique blueprint to my show. Same thing goes with how I make video games. I started out in a very systematic way, creating databases for requests and cities and locations and people. And by putting those together in unique web formats, I talked about that today in my devlog actually for Phasivos. By doing those systematic approaches, I am able to create a much more unique game because I've already thought about the various aspects of what needs to go into it. And these different examples of me innovating these fields, at least in my own way. Perhaps other people have done it too. I'm not saying I'm the only one who's done it, but the fact that I'm trying to do that and embodying that innovator mindset, that is the key. And so over the course of my life, I'm hoping that these various different aspects of my life get to be portrayed in a certain light. So how does this all come to pass? Well, mainly through content. Think about how you know people. You know them from the news. You know them from books. Those are all just forms of content that we've been getting used to over the past 100 years. Before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't really have anything beyond just written content. You had books and newspapers. That's about it. Eventually, you started getting the first semblance of a movie, these moving pictures, and then you had the radio as well around that time. And the radio was good, but it was very controlled, it was very formatted, and eventually radio started expanding, more people could have their own radio stations, eventually TV started expanding, there was more channels popping up, but again, a lot of it was controlled, it was only controlled by a small amount of people. Eventually, more and more people were able to make their own TV shows, TV networks expanded, and eventually we get to the internet. And so you can have your own TV, like for me, PolyInnovator is my own TV, that's why I made it called PolyInnovator, so I could have my own, essentially my own channel, my own TV. And then the OmniBlog for written content and the PolyCast for podcast and audio content. And these are my own forms of these different mediums of content. And by being a content creator, I am able to express myself in a certain way and show the world, market myself in a certain way to the world. And I want to really dig home the fact that we have the control now over our content. Sure, platforms like YouTube and Facebook are very centralized, and that's an issue, and eventually they're going to get replaced by decentralized platforms. I'm 100% sure of that. Not sure when, but I know it's going to happen. In that light, by having control now, even on these centralized platforms, transitioning over, I'm building up the skills to be a creator. I'm building up the skills for other people to become creators as well, and just building up that knowledge base so that when time is right and I'm able to really execute on my goals, even more so than I am now, I have the baseline skill to be able to market anything I create, whether it's a book or a game or whatever comes out of my ventral brain. That is the point of this PolyInnovator, to be the foundation for any future endeavor. Just want to drive that home. And this is really cool though. On a little tangent here, I'm not partnered with Aitum at all, but I am going to leave a link to this vertical plugin here, because people watching on IGTV may not be able to see it, but this is basically the viewpoint on the horizontal screen, basically of what you see on Instagram, and I think it's super cool. And just want to plug the vertical plugin for OBS. I've been wanting something like this for a long time. If I actually were to change the background, I could actually just automatically press to show a gameplay or video or web page. That's actually what I did to record a video the other day for a review, and it automatically formats it into a vertical format, and I just think it's amazing. So link is in the description. Go check it out if you're a content creator. Finally, what is the point of PolyInnovator? Well, what does it mean basically? It means to be an innovator of many different areas. And I know I said that already, but it's so important to just drive this home. Being an innovator is what we all are to some degree. We're all going to put our own mark on what we're working on, whether you're lazy or productive, it doesn't really matter. You're going to work on something in your own way. Steve Jobs once said, I hired the laziest person to do the job because they're going to find the easiest way to do it. And that's true, because the laziest person is going to find the easiest way. The most productive person is going to find the most efficient way, the most effective way, I guess you could say. And so regardless of where you are, there's a unique approach that's going to be empowering to that field. And I think that this is my way of doing that. And so I'm really excited to share this video and Poly and content episode actually to you all. And yeah, I'm going to end it here. I have linked to other posts from the series, like who am I, what is a PolyInnovator, what PolyInnovator is all about. They're very similar to this one, but I just take a different approach to how I explain it. So I definitely encourage you to check those out in the blog post portion. And yeah, thank you for being here. Cheers.